Welcome back to the For the Win Xbox podcast. This is episode 33, and we're talking about a lot of stuff going on. Warner Bros. Big in the news this week with their comments at the Morgan Stanley conference. Rooster Teeth finally kicking the bucket, going down for the count. And then there was a little Xbox partner, was it preview? Xbox partner preview. Showed a bunch of cute little games. So we're going to talk about that tonight on FTW. We got Henry, we got John. It's there this week in Xbox. There wasn't anything crazy big, but I do think the Warner Bros. Thing is really crazy because for those of you who don't know, there was the WB Discovery CEO. He was at a Morgan Stanley conference, not a video game conference, Morgan Stanley conference, and basically said, hey, we know that Hogwarts Legacy was a massive hit and it did well. It sold 24 million copies. And that's not a live service game. It's just a one-off game. But we're actually going to focus on games like Suicide Squad that are live service. And as you know, Suicide Squad was an absolute disaster and bombed. And I think that's really telling, John, of where we're at. We were talking about it in the gaming industry. These massive CEOs who know jack diddly about video games it's just crazy. You have Baldur's Gate 3, Hogwarts Legacy in the same year, these amazing non-live service experiences that do really well, and yet they're like, we're not gonna focus on that. And how many live service games have just bombed this year? How out of touch do you have to be? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane to me. Like, I was just reading, when I saw that headline, I was reading the article, and I was just like very annoyed that he was talking about it like at a Morgan Stanley conference. And it's like, okay, if you're wondering why the gaming industry is in the state that it's in and why it seems like these big AAA games are just soulless and, I think they have passionate developers behind them, but they are just like doing the bidding of like their corporate overlords who all they're doing is just trying to please the shareholders. And while I get that, on the one hand, it is a business and you have to make money, but it's like at the cost of like what? Like they're willing to just sell their souls for $1. And, he says they basically, Warner Brothers has control over 4 franchises, 4 IPs, the DC Universe, Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, and Game of Thrones. And it's just like, they literally said, yeah, we know Hogwarts Legacy was successful and a huge hit for us. And we know that Suicide Squad was a flop and terrible, but we're still going to do live service and pursue games like Suicide Squad. And it just is so frustrating and pissed me off because it's like, dude, Warner Brothers Discovery, you're paying this guy $40 million to be CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery. And like, you could pay me half of that and now make better decisions about your gaming department. Like,
yeah,
like it's just so out of touch with like the gaming community and what people want. And even just like the market, like look around, use your big brain, marketing brain, and see how saturated everything is. See how saturated gaming is with the live services. Like, we can't all be playing every single game all the time, 24/7. Like, it has to end.
And that's what I loved about Hogwarts Legacy. Is I'm like, sweet, here's a game I can play, happy to spend the $60, $70 and get 100+ hours of enjoyment and fun and on top of that, conversations and content, and it goes beyond the game. I was having so many conversations with people about the game, and oh, this is cool. Oh yeah, have you seen this? Did you know about this? Like, it's a great time for everyone when there's like a fun game like that gets released. And I mean, this guy doesn't know anything about video games. It's a absolute sham. It's an absolute shame that this guy is even in charge of the gaming department and has any say. It's just like, you're so out of touch. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. You just don't even know. So it's the same old thing, right? We've been talking about live service games and this problem forever.
I know we've been talking about it a lot, and like, I don't want to be beating a dead horse, but like, I thought we had gotten to a point with these, two huge failures, Skull and Bones and Suicide Squad, that I was like, okay, maybe from this they'll learn something. And then literally right after we record the podcast this week, they literally just do the exact opposite and double down on live service, and they're just like, no.
They're going to try to keep doubling down on live service games because people generally still are playing them, and until that stops, until majority of players aren't playing them, companies that just want to make money from the industry, I mean, which is fair, it's what it's for, but like, when that's all there is behind it, they're just gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, the money has to stop flowing. Like, money is, it's all money. And
it's
until,
like, didn't they lose any money from Suicide Squad? Like,
not enough.
Sure, but look how many other live service games they have that are doing okay. Like, that's...
Yeah, they have to fail. They're going to have to, like, get hit really, really, really hard before they make a change. Because it's just money.
And that's just the industry in general. Like, say Warner Brothers does just keep churning out crappy live service games, but we still keep playing shit like Apex Legends and Fortnite. Well, then Warner Brothers is gonna try it again.
Yeah.
Like, it's not gonna stop until it stops in the industry.
Or they're either gonna run out of money or just keep trying. Like, they'll get money from other things and just keep trying because they're idiots. Because if they're dumb enough to do it multiple times over, they're dumb enough to keep doing it. Like,
they're just going to fire their dev team and try another dev team at that point. It's like, well, because you got to look at it from their perspective, right? If other companies are successful in the live service area, but we're not, we're the problem. We dump them and we get new people probably poached from other studios.
I want a Fortnite game.
Yeah.
Make me Fortnite.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just...
That's why we go ahead, John.
It just doesn't, like, make sense to me. Like, make another Hogwarts Legacy type of hit, Why keep putting out live service flops when you did something great that was received well and sold like gangbusters? It was the top selling game of 2023. Like, Hogwarts Legacy is the top selling game, and that still, like, wasn't enough. Like, no, we're not going to do that again. We don't want to have the top selling game of 2023 all over again. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
And it was a full price. It was a $70 full price game. It wasn't like a budget title or anything.
Yeah, It's just like that whole greed thing. And I mean, even when I was doing like a video editing business, right? Like the model that I had was, it wasn't like, hey, let me just edit one video for you. It's like, hey, I will edit a certain amount of videos for you per month. And what that does for your business is it helps generate consistent, predictable income. And like, I don't know, these companies, the Warner Brothers, it's not enough to make, $1 billion in a year. They want like 25 billion every year guaranteed that they can rely on. I mean, Epic is just raking it in with their live service games, and not just one but multiple that are fantastic, and they're doing a great job with them, and they're chasing that golden goose. And they're never like, they're just not gonna catch it, bar catching lightning in a bottle. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible, but they're willing to burn every single bridge, burn every single customer, burn every single employee, do whatever it takes if it means they catch that, that golden egg. And that's what I feel like we're seeing. And it's just going to be these independent companies like Larian and stuff who are going to be like, yeah, we don't have shareholders and we don't think about them, and we believe you should pay one price for a game and own it for the rest of your life. And I think those are the two camps you're seeing like the whole industry jump into, like people who are either have, it's crazy because now we're getting into like almost like, what is your philosophy behind gaming, and how do you believe that the world should, how do you think people should treat this medium of entertainment? And people have very different philosophies about what that should look like. And yeah, it's very interesting to say the least. But I will not ever in my life, hand up, will never drop a penny on these godforsaken trash soulless games. Won't do it. Never, ever. And I stand by that. Also, speaking of WB, they own Rooster Teeth, which has been a staple in the gaming community for a long time. They came on the scene, for those of you who don't know. They did the machinima videos with Halo 1, where they had all these different characters, and they used Halo 1, the game, to make these characters, these short little TV episodes, and they grew into a massive production company and did a lot of other things, some of them really great and successful, some of them not so great and successful. But WB has finally shut down Rooster Teeth after all these years. And it's been like, what's crazy, Henry, because you obviously are very involved in Rooster Teeth. I know you have, multiple signed DVDs from day one, from going to cons when they first existed, and yada yada. So you have literally watched the inception of this company from the very beginning, 4 dudes in a room, to now they have, their parent company has closed them down for good. What do you make of this? What has it been, at like 20-year journey?
It's a bit, 21 years.
Crazy.
Right. I started watching them. It was still season 1 of Red versus Blue, and like I have their like first run DVD signed by the entire cast. So this was, I haven't paid too much attention to them lately, and I guess the last 10 years haven't been profitable from what I heard.
Oof, that's a long time.
A decade of non-profitability and just trying to make it work. Speaking of like, companies just keep going, figure it out. We'll figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
it just started feeling less and less like itself as it got bigger. And a lot of the original cast was gone. And when I kind of checked out when Bernie Burns, who founded the company, when he left, when he left a few years ago, I kind of just stopped paying attention entirely. None of the shows they were doing what I was wanting, but there's been like a lot of controversies the last couple years as well. One of the guys, I think, who was on from Achievement Hunters, he was I think he was texting a minor, if I recall.
Oh yeah, wow.
And then there was a guy, one of the voice actors. They were voicing their opinions in 2020 during that summer with the protests, and
which will add a lot of controversy. Yeah.
And then there was like a bunch of like last year, I want to say a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, a bunch of like former employees spoke out about like abuse and other stuff that was going on at the company and stuff. And yeah,
like bad working conditions, low pay, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and they were a pioneer though when it comes to like web media, being like, as a content creator, they supported themselves initially off of t-shirts, and they were doing like a Patreon before Patreon even existed. It was called being a sponsor before, and you would pay for your sponsorship. You got special access on the forum. Their forum was like a proto social media site. It was like you had friends and you had DMs, as well as the forum. You had profile pictures, commenting. It was very similar to like MySpace at one point, and how it operated. And I still am friends with some people that I met on that forum like 20 years ago. So it's kind of weird to think about now. I think they are still finishing the final season of Red vs. Blue. Red vs. Blue got canceled after Red vs. Blue 0 back in 2020, but last year they announced they are going to be doing one final season to wrap it all up. And I think they're still coming out with that because in the statement they released about them closing shop, they mentioned that it wasn't intentional, but it is very coincidental that the final season of Red vs. Blue is coinciding with the closure of the studio.
Yeah. They said in a statement that the reasons for closing were due to challenges facing digital media resulting from fundamental shifts in consumer behavior and monetization across platforms, advertising, and patronage. That's interesting to me because what it sounds like is they almost struggled to adapt to this new era because, like you said earlier, they were crushing. And I remember when they were crushing and they knew what to do to be profitable, and they didn't have as many employees, but like the digital media landscape in the last 10 years has changed drastically. And
it has changed drastically. And I think one of the things is that it is harder, I think, for a smaller like studio with as many employees as they did have to be profitable in this sort of, I'm going to say condensed. The internet feels very condensed to me now. Everything's on 4 apps and like, that's it. And their revenue before was people paying to be sponsors, and then they changed it to something else. Very good what they changed it to. First members. They got changed it to first, and because you got stuff first, and you were using their own. They wanted you to use their own ecosystem, their own streaming service on their own website rather than YouTube, because somehow they were going to be getting more money from doing it themselves. probably directly payment through ads, I'm assuming, on the website. Well, I don't know what their business model entirely was for why they wanted you to use their website, because stuff was not being uploaded onto YouTube. A lot of it was withheld. A lot of it just wasn't on there, and that worked for them before, but it doesn't work as much now, and at least it doesn't work as much now when you have hundreds of employees. And the scale of their production was going up and up and up, which is why they got bought out, not by Screenwave. I forget what the something screen was. Some company bought them several years ago, and then I guess they got sold or absorbed by Warner Brothers at some point.
Yeah, Full Screen and Otter Media.
Yeah. So it's shifted hands a lot. The tone of it has changed, and we're seeing with media production, because the stuff they put out wasn't just like normal typical YouTube stuff. Eventually, a lot of their shows were full on shows.
Yeah, productions for sure.
You're looking at, you're like, oh, new episode came out, and you're sitting down for like 22 minutes, right? And so I think we're already seeing Hollywood struggle with paying people properly from reduced money through streaming services itself. And so when you're a smaller company doing that very same thing, it is a harder harder industry to be profitable in, I think, at this point, when you're no longer having physical media and some other stuff to sell as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think ultimately with any of that stuff, content is king. And so if you're not producing content that consumers really, really care about and want to watch, either entertained by or is funny, you're just not going to do well. You're not going to get the views. And production value if the last 10 years has taught us anything, is that production value is one of the lower things on the totem pole when it comes to making money in the content space. Some of the richest content creators right now use $20 webcams and $30 mics, but they do well.
It's interesting you say this,
because they're entertaining. People think their content's funny, and they get millions upon millions of views, which then in turn they can make money from ads.
Like, you would think they, of all companies, considering how they started,
right?
Yeah,
would grasp that. But like I said, the people that started that channel, that started that company, like Bernie is gone.
I was gonna say, how many of them are still there?
I want to say Jeff and Gus are still there.
Yeah.
So,
well, and if you're, if you are owned by a parent company and you don't even have ultimate say, I don't know what their deal is, but if you don't have ultimate say, then here we are again. I mean, this is the same company, right? WB, Warner Bros. That's the same company, right? This is the same company that won't even freaking do another Hogwarts Legacy because they want to do a live service flop. So of course they're not going to know what to do with Rooster Teeth, and they probably don't even know how in low quality and whatever the original Rooster Teeth stuff was, but it was funny and people loved it, and they had their hand on the pulse of gaming culture, and that's what made it win. And when you get away from that, I mean, people don't watch.
I mean, that was kind of the thing that made me stop watching Rooster Teeth a bit, was when it stopped entirely being about video games. Like, they started just doing all kinds of stuff, kinds of other animated series, stuff that wasn't animated with a video game in it. They rarely did that after some time, besides Red vs. Blue, and a lot of Red vs. Blue eventually just became CGI, normal CGI eventually.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I want to rewatch the rest of Red vs. Blue. I do. because I want to see this final episode because this show meant a lot to me. Like the show, I thought was hilarious. It's a bonding point with like me and a lot of my friends. So
yeah, I kind of view it as just like this, obviously end of an era, but it was always just kind of like a reminder of like the early Xbox days and like the early LAN party days, because it was like, we'd play Halo and then someone would inevitably throw on like Red versus Blue and just kind of have that going in the background, and we would watch some of it and then keep playing Halo or whatever. But it's just one of those things, like we keep wanting to go back to those times and relive those times, and it's just like another part of kind of like our childhood or our teen years, I guess, that's just like ending, so
Yeah,
add it to the list.
I tweeted out I retweeted the article that said Rooster Teeth is shutting down, and I just put the era continues to end, because it's just like a slow, over the last however many years, slowly things that began in our early days of gaming are now coming to a close. Yeah. I mean, shoot, even like in a lot of ways, Halo feels like that. Like, feels like, I mean, Red versus Blue, Halo.
Months.
Yeah, it just
since December, since
weird,
the LAN
man.
party.
Yeah,
I have no reason to play Infinite. I will not play a game where the outcome is predetermined for me. Like,
yeah, and it's actually getting worse. We don't need to get into
both
all of it.
Infinite and MCC have gotten legitimately like worse since last time I played them.
It's bad when Mint Blitz is making multiple videos about how upset he is, because he's the big, he's a 343 grassroots, Mr. Positive all the time. So when he is saying, "How can this be possible? What's going on, 343?" I don't know why he's surprised, but when he's making videos like that, that it's
Dude,
bad.
cheaters can literally just get you banned instantly from a game.
Yeah, they can somehow clone your account name and get it banned, which is just crazy.
Yeah, they clone your gamer tag and then quit the game, and then that gives you the early quit ban. You can't play.
Yeah. It shouldn't be that hard to like put some kind of checksum to like make sure that is the actual proper account. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can we talk for like 5 minutes, since we're getting to our last topic, but this is Xbox relatable. I don't know if we've ever really dug into it that much, but how passionate do we feel about Xbox games being on PC or having to share lobbies? Because I feel like, again, when Mint Blitz tweeted out, 343, how can this be happening? Da 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 da. And I replied to him, dude, we got to stop being surprised by this. Like, why are you still surprised by this? But I also tweeted, like, basically, Halo should have never come to the PC. And I don't know if you guys have feelings on that. I'm slightly torn just because I love the modding side of it. But other than that, I'm like, when I look around at Call of Duty and Halo and all these games that come to the PC, like, Call of Duty's screwed. Like, it's done. It's so scuffed. I had a friend from church. He got banned from his account for suspected cheating, but he lost all the games that he paid for, and he contested it. And he's like, guys, I didn't cheat. I was actually streaming. I'll show you the whole VOD. There's nothing. And they said, well, we detected something on your computer that somehow kind of aligned with some cheating software. And he's like, I have no clue what that is. He's a you know, he's an audio visual professional and whatever, but like he lost his whole account. Nothing he could do about it. And yet
Jeez.
in the same time, so he has to like make a whole new account. He lost all his purchases, all his money, all his careers from past games, everything. And yet you have this new cheat going around where they can literally detect when they're about to get their screen captured by the anti-cheat, turn off the hacks. It'll screen cap their thing, and then once they detect that the anti-cheat is no longer like trying to record their screen, it turns back on. They can keep cheating, and it happens automatically. So basically, my friend was telling me, he's like, dude, I played for like an hour and I got in like 4 or 5 lobbies where guys were flying around the map and just gunning us down, and there's nothing we could do. I'm like, Call of Duty is scuffed. We're lucky that Halo isn't nearly as popular, because otherwise it would be tons of that. But how, like, it's only going to get worse. So is there ever going to be a future where they're like, okay, consoles on their own thing, PCs on their own thing, crossplay may be enabled if you want it, but otherwise it's like, it just kills it.
So, I mean, it's kind of crazy that like it's so targeted, because how many PC games are there where there's no problems? Right? They don't have as much rampant cheating. I'm okay with crossplay, but I do want it to be completely toggleable. Like, I should be able to say, you know, keyboard mouse only, or like even more specifically like PC only or console only. Those should all be options. It should never be forced into like one singular funnel.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Like, crossplay is nice when, you know, someone doesn't have an Xbox, but I feel like if the reason it's not on a toggle, like, there are like options. I think there are options if you go into the Xbox's settings, you know, turn crossplay off and all that. But I don't know that actually works. I feel like I'm still playing against PC players sometimes. But it sucks. Call of Duty doesn't have this problem, but I'm sure Infinite and MCC, like, the player populations are so low that they want as many people as possible in the same pool together, you know. And um, I mean, when I play something competitively, I want a completely just like level playing field. Like, when there was the Xbox and 360, like, most people were just like using the headset that was packaged with it, you know, and it was just for mic. You know, they didn't have, not everyone had like their gaming headsets back then. And like, everyone was just using an S controller on Xbox or the 360 control. Like, there wasn't any elite controllers or the ability to plug in a mouse and keyboard to your Xbox. And so, like, losing in a game of Halo 3, like, while frustrated back in the day, it was like, okay, I was most likely just outplayed. Like, 99% of the time, you're just like outplayed or got unlucky or something. It wasn't because they had like an actual unfair advantage or were cheating. Like, I don't know how many games I played in the 360 era, Xbox One era, that like I never ran into cheaters, like, ever, playing on console. And now it's constant, you know. So yeah, I mean, it really has just kind of like killed any sort of desire to even play like competitive multiplayer games. Like, I just don't even do it anymore. Like, come over and like, let's have a LAN party, and, you know, or play like customs. Like, I wish Infinite Customs worked a lot better, because that would actually be fun. But yeah, playing like in matchmaking is just a joke now.
Yeah, and I watched a video recently. Faven just dropped a new video talking about skill-based matchmaking, and it was very good. He had very convincing arguments, and one of the things he talked about, though, in relation to the skill-based matchmaking, the predicted outcomes, and then like not doing anything about cheaters, etc., is you lose gamers lose trust in the game. And he went into detail about how, like, kind of what you just said about how when you lose a game, it's no longer like, oh man, like, oh, how could I have been better or whatever. Now, even if you did get bested, you're still thinking, were they cheating? Was something off there? This feels sketchy. You know, we're so, there's so much PTSD because we're always running into cheaters. We're always having these bad experiences that even a legitimate L where we just got outplayed and lost, there's still this voice in the back of our head that goes, I don't know, I feel like they could have been cheating, you know. Oh, I don't know, I feel like something's, or, you know, shots didn't register, right? Like how many times, oh, I feel like this didn't register, the game did this, the game did that. And there's so much right now distrust between players and the games that they're playing that all it does is get you like pissed off when you win, when you lose, like whatever the outcome. One of the reasons I quit playing MCC was I was just like, with especially Halo 1 MCC, it's just like, well, when I lose, I can tell that my magnetism and my aim is completely blown out the window. And when I win, the difference is so crazy that I can 3-shot everyone from across the map. I can tell when I have this crazy advantage, and I'm like, I don't really feel good about winning because I know that they got the raw end of the deal this time, and I got the like host essentially, or vice versa. And so it just builds this distrust in like the games itself that we're playing, and ultimately it isn't fun. And Halo 3 was amazing because it had, you know, it had loose skill based matchmaking, and you could tilt the odds in your favor, and nothing was guaranteed. It wasn't non-existent, but it was just enough that it made the games fun. And ultimately, I think what it comes down to is whether we're in control of our own destiny or not. And a lot of these companies are like, we're going to be in control of your destiny and try and get you to play this as much as possible and try and like manipulate our way into it. And that's why I loved Halo 3, because every game we felt like we were in control of our destiny. Like if we had a sweaty match.
To be fair though, Halo 3 did kind of start with my distrust in games with the battle rifle. And it wasn't until like the MLG playlist came out where they tuned up the damage a bit that I was like, okay, this is like feeling good. This is where it's at. But I remember trying to shoot someone with that battle rifle, and like the last round wouldn't come out, or a shot wouldn't register, or, you know, whatever it was. And I mean, that was drama for us for a long time, that battle rifle.
So pissed. And for what?
Yeah. But like, that's why I've always liked Halo though, is because everyone starts with the same weapon. It's all about the weapons on the map. Like, I just want a multiplayer game where you start even and then
duke it out,
figure out ways to gain advantage, you know. But
yep, Halo through and through. Shout outs to Marty running for Congress. Godspeed.
If I lived in Nevada, I'd vote for him.
Dude, imagine he gets in, right? Imagine he wins, right? And he, like, first day in Congress, and they like play the Halo theme while he's like walking down the aisle, bro. It'd be crazy.
Get sued by Microsoft.
little
How
detail.
cringe! He made his own music for Kong.
I saw a little detail on his. I think it was his campaign announcement trailer. It was 117 seconds. Pretty good, right? It ends at 117. I'm like, Marty, the man of details. I mean, he was in charge of sound design, and we know how brilliant the Halo games were at sound design. He's a good guy, that Marty. Well, there are some games that were talked about for Xbox that are not nearly as good as Halo, but I guess we can touch on them because it's Xbox. The Xbox Partner Preview showcased 14 games this week. A lot of small indie, third party, second party. I don't know. What's a second party game?
A second party would be like Rare was to Nintendo.
Okay.
Where Nintendo owned part of Rare. And I guess Rare. So yeah, Rare's a good example of a second party because Microsoft has a whole ton of them now. Yeah. Technically.
Okay. So then third party would just be like indie studios.
Well, yeah, because like a lot of people would refer to it as like if Rare made an Xbox game, people would just call it a first party game because they own Microsoft. Microsoft owns them, but like I don't know if it's only second party if they don't fully own the other company, right? And they only own part of it. Kind of like I guess Bungie was to Microsoft for Halo, but we call it Halo a first party game.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird.
I mean, Microsoft's on the opening credit. It's like the first thing you see.
Well, yeah, I mean that's how it is with a lot of companies that just publish another game, though. You know, like Bungie was developer, Microsoft published it.
Wow. Any standouts from the what looks Monster Jam Showdown? What's that about?
Monster Jam, monster trucks.
No, I know that, but like
you said, what's it about? That's all it's about is monster trucks.
What's it gonna? Is it like just a racing game? Is it you take a monster truck through a career and get into the nitty gritty of building your truck? Like, what are we talking about?
The trailer didn't show a lot of that. The trailer didn't show a lot of that. It's definitely not gonna be a simulator. It's definitely a lot more arcadey. There's a lot of like crazy locations you're racing through in it. If it's anything like the other recent Monster Jam games, there's going to be like crazy power-ups and stuff. Here's an interesting thing. I knew this was coming because somebody on a monster truck diecast collecting forum that I'm on.
Yo, wait, hold on. You just said you are a part of a monster truck die casting forum?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Okay. So
there's a whole lot.
They were inquiring about it.
So a patent was filed by Spin Master about some kind of like dirt hexagon cage or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but a patent got filed for it. So people were curious. Were like, okay, Monster Jam filed for this patent. They got granted this patent for this term. And it's like, is this a real thing? Is this a play set? Is it a video game? And some other people dug up a lot of information about like
love it
this video game being like also a registered trademark.
Love it.
Screenshots weren't out. It wasn't announced yet, but people had been digging through trademarks and stuff that had been recently filed. So they found Monster Jam Showdown and it said like electronic game or something like that for what it was. We're like, okay, so this patent was filed for this term for this like dirt hexagon arena or whatever, and then Monster Jam Showdown says electronic game. This is probably related to this video game. This video game is going to become probably announced at some point soon. Nice. So,
Game Pass?
Known that was coming. Yeah.
It's gonna be Game Pass.
I don't know if it's on Game Pass.
I don't know if it's on Game Pass. It is on all the platforms though: PS5, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC, both via from Steam and Epic Game Stores.
It's gonna be 30 FPS on the Switch. Nice. I love seeing the monster truck tires move in 30 FPS. It's gonna be great.
I want Monster Jam. I want Monster Truck Madness to come back. That was a big PC game that Microsoft had the rights to, and it was like a big deal in the 90s when it came out. And then there was Monster Truck Madness 2, and that one was really cool too. It was a PC game. It had a yeehaw button, like a hotkey for your dude to shout yeehaw.
Yes.
I loaded DOSBox in my Xbox Series S so I can install Windows 98 so I could play Monster Truck Madness like a year or two ago. I did that.
It's so good.
That still has a modding scene and like an online like group that like still have like events and stuff like that. And that game is like Monster Truck Madness 2 came out 98 before, yeah, because like there was a port of it to the N64, so it was still N64 era, and this game still gets new trucks, new maps, patches to work on modern OSs, all just through the fan community.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Sorry, bit of a ramble.
What were you gonna say, John? You were gonna say something.
Yeah, so I watched the showcase earlier today, and I mean, I don't know what it says about the state of kind of these Xbox partners when like the game that looked like the most fun to me was Monster Jam Showdown. Like that was like the main standout. I was kind of watching the chat, and the chat is what it is, and for the most part is pretty toxic, and I rarely see like positive chat on like any of these kind of gaming live streams, but the consensus kind of seemed to be that like people were really excited for the release of Final Fantasy 14 coming to Xbox, and then the Stalker original trilogy being ported over to Xbox. Those are kind of cult classic PC games from back in the day. But other than that, a lot of the stuff was just kind of like whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I feel like there's just a lot of meh.
Monster Jam seemed like the most fun. The big Capcom game looks very like stylish, and it's like the art design is like way over the top and colorful and weird and all of that. But it's kind of like a hack and slash mixed with some like real-time strategy stuff. So I'm like, I don't know how fun it'll be. It doesn't like look super fun. It just looks just like crazy. Like they just went for a crazy look, crazy art style. But I don't how fun it's gonna be. I don't know. And then there was one game that was kind of interesting, but it looked kind of bad. But it was the altars, and you basically play this guy that's like crash landed on this ship. He's on this huge ship, and he's crash landed on this alien planet. And to get the ship moving like requires like an entire crew of people, and there's like all these different rooms with different things that need to be done. And to do that, there's a machine like on the ship that lets you clone yourself. And so he starts cloning yourself, but it's like clones based on different decisions that you made in your past life. So like you could create a clone of yourself if you had decided to like not go to college. So like you change that decision, you say I didn't go to college, you clone yourself, and then that person, that version of yourself like shows up, and then you can assign them to operate a part of the ship. But then like all of these different personalities and things, and so you're just seeing like all these, they're just showing like all these different versions of this character. So like the concept seemed like really interesting and weird and kind of cool, but again, I'm like, is this gonna be fun? I don't know.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a puzzle-ish game / like The Sims in space / like kind of like a work sim, but then like you can go explore the planet a bit and gather resources and all that kind of stuff. So
when you said The Sims in space, I started thinking about The Sims and how, you know, we would always kill the Sims in the craziest ways, and I just thought about Sims in space. I'm like, oh, I know what I would do. I would put my guy in a spacesuit, go do a little spacewalk outside, and then make him take off his helmet. In true Sims fashion. And he would go, wah, 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 wah. Take it off.
Did you see the Chucky Roblox, Dave?
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's a full game being made on, because Roblox isn't just a game.
In
We
Roblox,
discussed this.
right?
It's in Roblox.
Yeah.
Roblox is a platform.
Right.
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 Not a game.
Right.
It's a platform.
Right.
And so there's a company that is releasing a horror game for adults on the Roblox platform called Griefville.
Oh my
And
gosh.
Chucky from Child's Play is one of the characters.
Dude,
So.
fourth graders are gonna love that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They're literally their iPads are gonna be going nuts for that. That's wild. That's wild. Is it gonna be like gory?
It says it's for adults, so I don't know how they're gonna like do that with like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I need to make a Gears of War game in Roblox.
I mean, we were playing Halo in Roblox,
Yeah.
and Delta Ring was honestly a really good game in that.
Yeah. We should do Delta Ring LAN. The problem is it's too hard to like actually connect, like get in the same game and do stuff.
It isn't because like I remember I set up a PC one day when we were playing this. I was hosting a server for a minute because
we could do private server, yeah.
On my Plex server, I set up a private server and I was like playing around for a while. So it's definitely possible. I mean, I'm down.
Delta Ring LAN, yeah. So good. I love it.
Gosh.
I love it. Well, anything else for the good of the pod, Xbox wise? I just want to say also, I love, and this could be a full episode where we talk about all the Xbox hardware, I don't want to say exclusives, one-offs, collabs. I just always have loved the one good thing from this generation. It hasn't been the games, but all the cool consoles and skins and different things they've done with the Xbox One. I'm just like, I think they're crushing it. I saw SpongeBob Xbox One, and I'm like, I like it. And I saw a Bluey one. I like it. I think it's cool. Like, I want those things. I think they're amazing. But if you're not going to have the games, hey, at least you have some cool consoles and controllers. Like, I feel like they're crushing hardware this generation, but they're not crushing
cool
games.
Fallout controllers too.
Yeah, Fallout. Yeah, they've been doing some cool stuff.
One thing I think that's interesting about the the recent collaborations, limited editions on the Xboxes, they're really working the aesthetic shape of the console into these choices, because like limited edition consoles been around for a long time, right, and a lot of times it's just like either a specific color with a decal, and it's like that's it, that's your Hello Kitty Dreamcast, that's your Spider-Man PlayStation, like that's it. Maybe a special color, maybe not. A lot of the Xbox ones, it's like we're going for like what's square, what is rectangular out there, and we're gonna turn the Xbox into this, which is like kind of interesting because you would think with such a like bland shape you wouldn't be able to work as many things into it as they have. It's an interesting like dichotomy there.
Very. All right. Well, I think that about settles it. Thanks for everyone who tuned in, watched. Lots happening as always. Comment, rate, subscribe, buy a flamethrower, superscorcher.com, etc., etc. Yeah, that's it. We're done. We're out. We're outie. See you next week. GG's.
GG.